Okay, I'm specifically addressing specific items in this video. I'm not attempting to respond to the entire thing in any way, shape, or form because there's almost a sense of boredom that comes after watching 20-something videos by several people talking about the same, basically this subjective argument. And I don't want to foolishly move on as if I'm downplaying significance. Sort of sounds very similar to what the mention of the Holocaust earlier in a couple videos of mine go. But the moving on is basically, I mean, that's basically the core of what this video is saying, is that, you know, I believe in the need to build a strong foundation and to really have it be sturdy as you move forward, and necessity of that. This whole idea of this kind of emotional, subjective, almost where you can get into the sense of emotion is like a dirty word. I mean, emotion kind of ridden, like the effect of emotion is may not be that closer to objectivity that we're talking about. But I mean, you know, a close to an objective emotion or a spontaneous arising is crucial. I mean, that's why I was thinking, you know, like of will, and to kind of just sweep through the significance of will, or to think that even these thoughts that pop up into your head anyway, let me just stick with what I'm trying to say specifically. Just let me stay more with the core of what I thought of when I hit record, which is to build this strong foundation. I agree, but there's got to be a sense of commonality, and you got to kind of move beyond to crudely put, like, the bickering state. You know, I mean, we could sit here and, you know, go back and forth and move in a non-progressive direction communally. So the need for commonality, and then, like, the decisiveness of an action. And I'm going to actually try and use a little more discipline for the remainder of the video by maintaining my gaze and not doing so much movement. So let's see how that works. Maybe I'll notice a difference. But decisiveness in action. So let's even use what I've just discussed to you as the reason. I've decided to make a decision, and now I'm making the action by trying to be a little bit more attentive to the camera, not looking back and touching my hair and playing, you know, with the various running around in my head. So, and then basically where I'm going, and finally is almost like, you know, I love that idea of the book. You know, if we're talking about a metaphorical book or a physical book or whatever book, but I love the idea of a collective book, and I you know, it heartens me to think that, you know, all of these almost dissonant views at times can create a harmony, a certain sense of unity that kind of, I would hope that we all feel within our own philosophies, a sense of okayness with us, who we are and what we think and why we're thinking it and why it's evolving. And, you know, so I love that communal aspect, and the idea of writing that book. So, you know, but the core is, you know, I look forward to moving kind of out of the gate, you know, walk the dog, you know, and the idea of with that enthusiasm. For me, this is more of a personal context, but you know, I'm just thankful for the exposure to this point. I don't like to belittle the objective subjective argument by moving on, you know, and I get a sense that we, and I say we as a unit, kind of maybe prematurely, considering I've merely watched a bunch of videos and made a couple, but I don't know anyone personally or had any real interaction on the level that you guys have with each other. But let's just keep it with the we, and the wider we, the we, all of us we that are actually penetrated by basically what's being put out there right now. This, us. So there's it is. I'm cutting down the whole tent right now because the carnival's done for now. But pushing through with that gratitude and enthusiasm and the clear sense of completion that's just so satisfying and so beneficial. And then the idea that you can transmit that outward to others and get them, use your sanity and persuasiveness to offer real alternatives so that people can act of their own accord and not because you just baffle them or something. Like that whole baffling with bullshit line. I mean, that's got to be one of the biggest. That's like the most bullshit right there. I mean, if you're BSing, then you're denying your word, and if you're denying your word, you're denying your power. So and I think that's a point of agreement that we can, maybe we don't need to express it or even agree with what I just said, but put it simply, I heard you say it as one of your news things. I hate liars. So we could say it like that. And it actually brings up another thing, which was even hate is an interesting thing because I tend to certain words and concepts. I mean, just to give you an idea of how I conduct myself in terms of thought processes, is the idea of certain words that I tend. I don't want to say I push away entirely, but like words like, for instance, hate. I always try to use an alternative word when working with words like that because, this accepting and rejecting is the core of what's going to keep us running in this circular fashion. And then the other idea was, what came to mind and where I'm kind of going with this, which was not my original conclusion, but it jumped at me, was the idea of putting it on suffering sucks on a stone tablet. And I'm kind of a believer in this the far out concept of cause and effect, and the first thought comes from within, and then it creates almost as the expression of that thought is created in a second thought where that becomes reality. And to say that suffering sucks is so heavily, I mean, if you had that on a stone tablet, I mean, it could just the mere usage of the word could be damaging. And there's such another way of looking at, even focusing on the suffering. You could put on that tablet and you'd basically be saying the same thing, but you could just say it's all good, and maybe that would kind of convey the message in a way that is still, of course you probably disagree because, let's say he says good is good or something like that. Obviously you don't see it as all good, so it's probably wouldn't want the tablet to say it's all good if we're in this kind of view of nature as this like churning machine meat grinder, Pink Floyd The Wall, kind of schools walking into the abyss. And so I don't know. I don't think that emotionality needs to be easily discarded or be told that it doesn't have a playing field in the foundational structure of a thought system. I know the objective truth holds so much power, and shoot, I would not want my foundation to be this rickety structure based on everybody's, flimsy opinions. So in that way, and that there it is, the commonality, the points of agreement, and the idea of moving on and having a good beginning, a good middle, a good end, and a recognition of the constant beginning. And that'll sum it. I kind of stretched it at the end to try and just get it in within the parameters of allowance. So here you are.